This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So yesterday we have started with procedures. Okay, we have seen how to create the procedures in our schema and how to call that particular procedures, and we have seen how to pass the parameters as well as how to return the parameters from the procedure. And as part of that, at the end of the session yesterday, we have created one table, employee underscore department, and this table has got some 5 columns: employee number, employee name, designation, salary, and what department number. Okay, and what else? Yeah, and this table contains some data. This is the data we are having, and we are based on this table definition, we have created two more tables. One is employee underscore department underscore manager. Another is employee underscore department underscore non-manager. So the structure of these tables are same. So this is manager table, which has got same 5 columns, and we have another table, non-manager. This also contains same 5 columns. And these two tables, manager table and non-manager tables, doesn't have any data. So manager table doesn't have any data here. Similarly, non-manager table also doesn't have any data. So what was our requirement? This is the main table. So from the based on this table data, I need to create the procedure. So what is the requirement? We need to increment the wherever the designation is manager, we have to increment that salary by 5%. Okay, we have to increment that salary by 5%, and copy that corresponding records to what manager table, and increase the non-manager salary by some 10%, and copy that corresponding records to what other table. Okay, that was the overall requirement. I repeat the requirement once again. This is the main table, employee underscore department. So the requirement was wherever the designation is manager, wherever the designation is manager, we have to increment that salary by some 5%, and after incrementing, copy that corresponding record to what managers table. Okay, and wherever non-managers are there, that is employee and supervisor, we have to increment that corresponding salary by some 10%, and copy that corresponding record to other table, non-manager. As of now, manager and non-manager tables doesn't have any data. So if you want to achieve this functionality, we need to create a procedure. Okay, so already we have seen how to create the procedure. Now what we have to manipulate this data. Means I need to fetch the data from this table. One, after fetching the data from the table, okay, I need to store it in some intermediate place. Then I need to process that particular, manipulate that particular data. So for this, I will use something called as what cursors. Okay, just like in our normal ABAP we have cursors, here also we can create what cursors. So related to cursor, we have some 4 steps. One is declaring the cursor, next is opening the cursor, then reading the cursor, and then closing the cursor. So let me create a procedure. I'll open the SQL console. I'll set the schema for our, so I'll set the schema for this session. So our schema is what? Gensoft HANA. Done. Schema is set. Now let us create the procedure. So I'm directly creating the procedure in the SQL console, where I am creating as part of catalog. I open the SQL console session, and I'm trying to create the procedure. So what are the procedure I am creating here? This procedure cannot be modified. Okay, I'm directly creating the procedure as part of my own schema. This procedure is not editable, and we cannot consume this procedure from the ABAP layer. So if you want to edit that procedure, or if you want to consume that procedure from the ABAP layer, that is from ABAP report, we need to create the procedure inside a package, inside a package. So at this stage, we don't know how to create that. And apart from creating the package, you must store it in a schema called as what, sys underscore big. So that will come going forward. So as of now, let me create the procedure. So I'll say create procedure. I'll give the procedure name as something transfer underscore data. So these are the available procedures. They are the procedures which we created yesterday. Create procedure. I'll give the procedure name as something transfer underscore data. Excuse me. Yeah. Okay. Create procedure so and so as begin. Yeah. As begin. So yeah. What you have to do is this table has got some records. It has got some 10 records. Okay. So I need to read this entire table data because I have to check each and every record now. So I need to read this entire data into the cursor. Okay. So what is a cursor means? You can visualize a cursor is like an internal table. In our normal ABAP, we declare what? Internal table. Whenever we are dealing with multiple records, we will declare what? Internal tables. Okay. So here also I'll declare a cursor. I'll read this entire data into the cursor, and I need to process each record of the cursor. So if you take our internal table, we use loop and loop. Loop at internal table into work area and end loop. So when you loop, what happens? Each record will come to work area. Here also, once the data is stored in the cursor, I need to process the cursor. So in order to process the cursor, I need to read record by record. So if you are reading a record, each record contains how many fields here? 5 fields: employee number, employee name, designation, salary, and department number. So keeping these 5 fields in mind, if you take our normal ABAP, in case of normal ABAP, if you read an internal table, how do you read? We say what? Read table I tab. So we know that read statement always reads what? Single record. A read statement always reads single record. So when you read here, we'll read that record into what? Work area in case of a normal ABAP. And the structure of this work area should be same as what? Structure of your internal table. Similarly, when I'm reading the data from the cursor, each record in that cursor contains how many fields? 5 fields. So since it contains 5 fields, I need to declare what? 5 different variables. So keeping that table structure in mind, I'll declare some 5 variables. What are the data types here? Integer, varchar, integer, and what? Integer. Okay, done. So I'll declare some 5 fields. Declare. I'll give a variable name as something v underscore employee number integer. Then I'll say declare v underscore employee name varchar of something 20. Then declare uh, some variable names v underscore employee designation. Let me declare it as something varchar of 20. Employee salary integer. Declare v underscore department number of what? Integer. Done. So I declared what? Some 5 different variables. Now I need to deal with the cursor now. So what is the first step? I need to create the, sorry, I need to declare the cursor. How do you declare the cursor? We have to say declare. We have to use the keyword cursor followed by what? Cursor name. Declare cursor name. Okay, and any databases, every database supports this cursors concept. So the declaration of the cursor is always associated with select query. Okay, the declaration of the cursor is always associated with select query. So I'll say for what is the select query in our context? Select star from, because I want all the fields. Select star from what is the table? Why I'm selecting all the fields? when I transfer the record into these two tables. What are those two tables? Manager and the non-managers. These tables also contain the same five fields. Na? That's the reason I'm going for what star, so that I can retrieve all the fields. So select star from employee employee underscore department. Select star from employee underscore department. Done. So I declare the cursor. The next step is we need to open the cursor. So how do you open? You have to use the keyword open followed by cursor name. Whenever the cursor is opened, the select statement associated with the cursor will be executed. Understood? The select statement associated with the cursor will be executed, and the result of that select query would be stored in the cursor, and that result we call it as what? Active set. I repeat once again, whenever we open the cursor, whenever this statement is executed, the select statement associated with the cursor will be executed, and the result of the select query, means the data retrieved by the select query, will be stored in that particular cursor, and that location we call it as active set. We call that location as what? Active set. So now I'm opening the cursor. Yeah, so the data would come and sit in the cursor. I need to what? Process my particular cursor data. So how do you process here? See, I'll use a statement called as loop. Okay, I'll use a statement called as loop and what? End loop and end loop. Yeah, loop and end loop. So you can visualize this similar to like do and end do and end do. Yeah, I'm looping the cursor. What I have to do now? I need to read each cursor record. Okay, how do you read each cursor record? If you take our internal table, if you want to read each record, we use what? Read statement. Or if you use loop and loop, when I say loop into internal into work area, automatically each record will come to work area, and it will be iterated for what? All the records. Here, to read a cursor record, we have to use a statement called as fetch statement. You can visualize fetch is similar to what? Read. Fetch, what is the cursor name? C1. So fetch means it is trying to read. So when I try to read, each record in the cursor contains how many fields here? Five fields. No? So I require what? That many target fields. I'll say into. Already declare the fields. No? So I'll say v underscore what? Employee number. V underscore employee name. V underscore employee designation. V underscore employee salary. What else? V underscore department number. That's it. Okay, so I'm reading the cursor data. Hmm. Okay. Now, again, if you go back to our normal ABAP, if you want to check the execution status of the read statement, immediately after the read statement, we use what? Size bars in. If the read is successfully executed, size bars will be set to 0. Otherwise, it will be set to what? 4. Similarly, related to cursors also, we have some attributes. I mean to say, we have some properties. So one of the properties not found. So I'll say if, how do we access the property? If cursor name, you have to use this colon. It's a part of syntax. If C colon not found, means if the fetch is failed. Okay, if the fetch is failed, when the fetch statement will fail, if there are no further records to read, then the fetch statement execution will fail. So at that time, what I have to do? I have to close my cursor and I have to come out of the current loop. Current loop. So I'll say close. What is the cursor name? Close so and so. And if you take our ABAP, to come out of any loop, we use the exit statement. Here we use what? Break. Break will come out of the current looping statement. What is the current looping statement here? Loop and what? End loop. Done. So else, yeah, else. Now I need to write the required logic. Okay, so hope it's clear up to this point. I have declared the cursor, opening the cursor. So when I open the cursor, the select statement will be executed. It will fetch the data and the entire data will be stored in the cursor location, which we call it as active set. Since we don't know how many records are there in the cursor, I may have zero record, one record, or multiple records. I'm using what loop and loop. You can visualize this similar to what do and what undo. And in order to read each cursor record, we have to use what fetch statement. Fetch is similar to what read statement, which will read one record of the cursor. Okay, if the fetch statement execution is failed, how do you check it? By referring to a property called as not found. If C1 not found, then I am closing the cursor coming out of the current loop, which is loop and what end loop. Done. Assume that so when the control comes to else part, if the fetch statement is successfully executed. So what is the criteria now? Excuse me. Excuse me. I'll switch on my laptop charging. Yeah. So what is the criteria now? We have to check each and every record. If the designation is manager, increment the salary by 5% and transfer that record to what? The other manager's table. Okay, so here I'll say else. If what is the column which stores that employee and what is the variable which stores that employee designation? If v underscore employee designation is equal to what manager, if v underscore designation equal to manager, then what I have to do? I have to increment the salary by some 5%. So I'll say v underscore employee salary is equal to v underscore employee salary plus uh, what? I have to increment it by 5%. So I'll say v underscore employee salary into something 5 by 100. So I'm writing some calculation. Current salary plus 5% of the current salary. Okay, I'm incrementing by 5%. Okay, done. So this variable now will contain what? Incremented salary. Na? It will contain the incremented salary. So I need to insert that record into the table. Na? Which table? Manager table. So how do already we know how to insert the record into the table. So I'll say insert into what is the table name? Employee underscore sorry this table employee underscore department underscore mng which is expecting 5 columns. So insert into employee underscore department underscore what manager. Insert into employee underscore department underscore manager. Okay, what is the syntax? Values. I have to give the 5 columns now. So what are those variables in this context? V underscore employee number. What else? V underscore employee name. V underscore employee designation. V underscore employee salary, which contains the incremented salary, and V underscore what department number. That's all. Done. So if it is manager, do so and so. Else in the sense if it is other than what manager. If it is other than manager, I have to increment the salary by what 10%. So here I'll say I'm incrementing by 10%, and I'll transfer that record into the other table. What is the other table name? Employee underscore department underscore non-manager. So here I'll say non-manager values is what? So and so done. That's all. And if this is end if, this is another end if, end loop, and end for procedure is what? End. That's all. So this is my simple procedure. That's all. Let me cross check. I
What
declare the
else
cursor.
your cursor close have to maintain for each part?
Sorry, Shiva.
Cursor close for else part. You have written logic, right? After completion of logic, closing of cursor.
Not required. And here we are in the loop now. See, once all the records are completed, at certain point this if condition is satisfied. Na? When it is
Okay.
satisfied, you are closing here, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So after completing 10 records, for the 11th record, since we don't have 11th record, this if condition will be satisfied. So at that time, we are
Okay.
closing the cursor.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right.
And we are coming out of the current loop. So, yeah, fine.
Sir, this is Raj.
Yeah, Raj, tell me.
Yeah, this you have declared the variable and fetching the data. The column should be in the sequence, or we can have like into corresponding fields like.
No, 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 no. It should be in the sequence. It should be compatible. We
Yeah.
don't have corresponding fields concept here.
Okay. Okay.
It should be in sequence. So the developer should take care of that.
Okay.
In the sense, in whatever the sequence you are retrieving from the table, in whatever the sequence you are retrieving from the table, the same sequence you have to follow when you are reading the cursor.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah. Any other doubts, others? Yeah. Let me execute. So before I execute, if you see the table manager table, this doesn't have any data. Okay. So if you see manager table, when I say open data preview, this doesn't have data, and even this employee department non-manager also doesn't have any data. Okay, both the tables are empty. Let me execute the procedure. Let's check whether we have any syntax errors. Done. I'm executing F8. Yeah, it is successfully executed. So if you refresh here, what is that? Transfer underscore data. So already we know how to call the procedure. Na? So from the SQL console only, I am calling. See, as of now, we are creating the procedure as well as calling the procedure from the SQL console. Going forward, just like we can call one function from another function, one method from another method, we can call a procedure from another procedure. So that we'll see that later on. Call transfer underscore data. Okay, and this procedure doesn't have any parameters now. I don't have any input parameter. I don't have any output parameter. So I'm not passing any parameters. Let me execute this. F8. The procedure is successfully executed. So if you go back and check these tables, this is my manager table. Let me refresh. Yeah, you can see I got managers. What are the employee numbers? 1459. If you see the original table also, yeah, 1 is manager, 4 is also manager, 5 is also manager, 9 is also manager. And their salaries are what? 1000, 4000, 5000, and 9000. And if you see here, it is incremented by 5% according to our logic. 1050, 4200, increment by 5%. Similarly, if I go to non-managers, when I refresh, yeah, I got non-managers here. Their salaries are incremented by some 10%. So 2000 has become 2200, 3000 has become 3300, like this. So here, this data is not important. The focus should be how to work with the cursor, declaring the cursor, opening the cursor, reading the cursor, and closing the cursor. So here, even if I don't write the close statement also, it's fine. But the recommended process is if you open any resource, it is developer choice to close that resource. So better we close it. So any questions in this part, please ask me. Done? Okay. Now related to this cursors only, we have a cursor, a special type of cursor called as what? We have a special type of cursor called as cursor for loop. Cursor for loop. So let us understand the advantage of the cursor for loop. Okay, so my requirement now is, one second. Yeah, I'll use the same table. So my requirement is, one second, let me refresh. So this is my data. So requirement is, I have to increment the salaries by 5% if the salary is what, less than 5,000. Try to understand. I have to increment the salaries by 5% if the salary is less than what, 5,000, and 2% if the salary is what, greater than what, 5,000. Okay, that is the logic. Okay, so then what I want is, after you have to update that in the table, and that updated data I have to return it back. Try to understand. Here what you are doing in this example, we are inserting that corresponding records into the target tables. Now what I want to create a procedure in such a way that I want to increment the salaries by 5% if the salary is what, less than 5,000, and 2% of the salary is greater than 5,000. So I have to update the table and I have to return that particular updated data. I have to display, return in the sense my procedure has to return some data. In this example, the procedure is not returning anything. Now I want to return the data. Okay, so let's see, and I can do it in a normal way, but anyhow we know this, so I'll go for what, cursor for loop. Okay, so again, when you're working with the cursor, no one will tell us whether to use a normal cursor or whether to use the cursor for loop. Okay, it is the developer choice. Okay, whether to go for normal cursor or cursor for loops. I want to use cursor for loop here. Let's understand how to do this. Done. So I'll create a procedure. Create procedure. Let me give the procedure name as update underscore employee underscore department. Create procedure update underscore employee underscore department. Then here, so what is the requirement here? Um, 1 second, boss. One second, please. This is the table. Acha, one small adjustment here. I don't want it for all the records. Okay, I don't want it for all the records. I want to do it for a particular department. Means, if you observe the earlier procedure, this is my select query. What you are doing in this, we are retrieving the entire data. Now what I want is, I want to pass department number as a parameter. Understood? So in my select query, I need to use some where class. Okay, so based on the department number I passed, I need to check whether the corresponding salary is what, less than 5,000. If it is less than 5,000, increment the salary by 5% or increment it by 2%. Not for all the records, only for the given department number. So that department number might contain n number of records. So that is a requirement here. So I'll create the procedure, create procedure so and so. What is the input parameter here? I want to pass department number as what? Parameter. So I'll say in v underscore d number integer. Why I'm taking integer? Here if you see the table, department number is also what? Integer. Acha, one R&D you have to do. I'll give it that as an exercise. Even I know I also need to check it separately. If you take other databases, if you take Oracle database, if you take SQL Server, we have a concept called as percentage type declaration. I repeat, percentage type declaration. So what is the concept of percentage type declaration is just here. Here I declared the 5 variables. I gave it as integer, I gave it as varchar of 20, varchar of integer. Why I gave integer and varchar of 20? In the table also those data types are what? Integer, varchar of 20, so on so. So here when I'm declaring the variables, since I need to refer to the table columns, I'm giving the same data type now. So I'm hard coding the data type. Try to understand. I'm hard coding the data type. Okay. But if you take other databases, I'm not sure about the HANA. I need to check it. So there are many things we need to compare and we need to do R&D. Okay. So what is the, just like in our ABAP, instead of if a variable has to refer to any database field, instead of hard coding the data type, will refer to the data element. Here also, here also, instead of hard coding this data type, I need to dynamically get this particular data type. Suppose I should refer to some declaration where I have to refer to this particular column. When I refer to this column, whatever the data type is there for this, it should be assigned automatically to what? This particular variable. That concept is called as percentage type declaration. It is very much supported in Oracle database. If you know PLSQL, it is very much supported in PLSQL, but in HANA, we need to check whether it's supported or not. If it is supported, I need to check what is the syntax for that. So if anyone is having time, try to do R&D. Question is what? Whether HANA database supports percentage type declaration. Percentage type declaration means dynamically it has to refer to what? The data type and the size of that particular what? A database column. Okay, so just do R&D on that. I'll also check from my end. Hope is it clear to everyone what we need to check? Percentage type declaration. Instead of hard coding the data type, I need to dynamically refer to the corresponding data type and size. Here also, I am giving it as integer. Na? So instead of that, I should be able to refer to a percentage type declaration so that I can dynamically get the data type and size. Okay. So integer, as of now, we don't know that syntax and we don't know whether HANA database supports that particular feature or not. Done. So I'll take out. Why I'm taking output parameter here? Because after updating the table, at the end I need to return that particular updated data. Na? That's the reason I'm taking output parameter. Out, I'll take internal table. So I need to return that particular table structure. What is my table name? Employee underscore what? Department. So this output parameter is of what type? The table name. It is of type database table. Done. Then I'll say as begin. Okay, create procedure name. Input parameter is so and so. Done. Then write the, what is the first step now? I need to declare the cursor. Okay. So I'll say declare what is the cursor name? Cursor so and so. For select. One second, please. Acha. Here again, I did not say star here. I did not say star because unnecessarily, why I should retrieve the, why I should refer to the all the columns. I'm interested only in few columns. I'll say select instead of saying star here. Let me select what? Employee number, and I'll refer to what? Employee salary and department number. So employee number, comma what? Employee salary, comma department number from what is the database table name? Employee underscore department. From employee underscore department. I don't want to fetch the complete data. I don't want to refer to the complete data. I want to fetch only those records based on the given department numbers. I'll say where what is the column name? Department number. Where department number is equal to, I need not give double quotes, but as a practice I'm referring, where department number equal to, what is the input parameter here? V underscore department number. Done. That's all. So this is my select query. Done. What is the next step we are doing? We have done in the earlier procedure. After declaring the cursor, we are opening the cursor. Here I want to use cursor for loop. So since I want to use cursor for loop, Without opening the cursor, before that, I'll declare one variable. I'll take a variable for storing the new salary. Then declare v underscore new salary into here. I want to use what cursor for loop. So see the syntax here. For, you can give any name. Let me give a meaningful name. I'll say for current row. Some name. For current row as what is the cursor name? C1 do. Do, and here end for is what? End for. Done. So for cursor, for reference as C1 do, done. Now I'll say if what current row dot, what is the column and it refer employee salary? If current row dot employee salary is less than what? 5,000. If it is less than 5,000, then what is the requirement here? I need to increment by what? Some what? 5%. So I'll say v underscore new salary is equal to the current salary. Current row dot what? Current row dot employee salary plus what? The current row dot employee salary into how much percentage? 5% into 5 by what? 100. That's it. Okay, done. So this will have the incremented salary. I need to update my table. So already we know how to use update statement. Update. What is the base table? Employee underscore department. Update employee underscore department. Set employee salary is equal to what? The current incremented salary. What is the current incremented salary? V underscore what? New salary. Set employee salary equal to V underscore new salary. Where? Acha. If I leave it like this, what happens? All the records in the table will be updated. I need to update the particular record. So what is the key field in the table? Employee number. Anyhow, we are fetching the employee number. So here I'll say new salary where employee number equal to the current employee number. How do you refer to the current employee number? Yeah, this only. So it's a current row dot employee number. That's it. Let me cross check. If the current row dot employee salary is less than 5,000, new salary equal to current salary incremented by 5%. Then I'm updating the database table, comparing with the key field, primary key field. Done. Else,
In the top
else
line, employee number colon inverted commas.
double quotes. Okay. Yeah, current row dot employee number. Then else part, same kind of logic. New salary is equal to how much? Some 2%. Yeah, 2 by 100. Done. And then I'll say here what? End if. End for is what? End for. That's all. That's all. Okay. Then what is the requirement? So this logic will update your table. Then I need to return my data. I need to return the updated data. So what is the output parameter name I'm referring here? iTab. Okay. So here I'll say iTab is equal to I need to get the updated data. I want to return the complete data. So select start from what is the table name? Employee underscore department. So here I'm fetching all the records because when I'm referring to this iTab, I'm referring to the old structure of the table. That's the reason I'm fetching all the records. That's it. And end for procedure is what? So what is the difference we observed before I explain? Can anyone tell me what is the difference between this cursor and this cursor? Yes, anyone?
The
Yes.
second cursor directly, updating the table.
No, that is not the thing. No, I'm expecting different answer. Simple. See here, if you take the earlier cursor, I followed 4 steps. Declaring the cursor, opening the cursor, fetching the cursor. I mean to say reading the cursor and what? Closing the cursor. Okay. But if you take cursor for loop, we call it as cursor for loop. Cursor for loop need not be opened, need not be fetched, and need not be closed explicitly. That's all. That is an advantage of what? Cursor for loop. What is that? Cursor for loop need not be opened, need not be fetched, and need not be closed explicitly. That is the only change. So what I did here is just declare the cursor. Okay. Then you see, can see here, this is called as cursor for loop. For and what? And for. I am giving some reference name. You can give any name here, ABC, XYZ, whatever you want, you can give it. Okay, for so and so as C1 do means internally it opens a cursor. Explicitly I am not opening. Internally it opens a cursor. Whenever the cursor is open, what happens? Just now I told at the beginning, the select statement associated with the cursor will be executed, and the result of that particular data would be stored in the cursor, which we call it as active set. So the moment this for loop is started, cursor will be opened and will start reading record by record. It will start fetching it record by record. So for the first iteration, what happens? The first record will come to this particular reference. You can give any reference name here, it will enter the for loop here. I am checking in the current record if the employee salary less than 5,000, increment that salary by what? Some 5%. And since we need to update the base table, I am using the update statement comparing with what? Key field. So here you can see the cursor is associated with the employee number also, which is key field. That's the reason I'm fetching employee number here. The reason why I'm fetching employee number also because it is a key field in the table. Based on that key field only, I can update the corresponding record in the table. And this part is self-understanding. Else means if the salary is what? Greater than or equal to 5,000, you are incrementing by what? 2%. And then you're updating the table. Like this, since this is a loop here, in the earlier example, we used what? Loop and what? End loop. Inside that loop and loop, we are fetching the cursor and we are closing the cursor. But whereas here, cursor for loop, it will automatically open, it will automatically fetch, it will automatically close. That is the only advantage of what? Cursor for loop. That's all. Okay, so let me execute this. And at the end, since I want to return the updated data from the table, at the end, I'm associating the latest data from the table to the output parameter so that it will be returned. So let me execute this. F8. Yeah, the procedure is successfully created. The procedure is actually created. Let me try to call the procedure. So I'll say call. What is the procedure name? Update underscore employee underscore department. Update underscore what? Employee underscore department. Right? If I leave it like this should give error because we are not binding the input parameter and what output parameter. So when I execute, when I say F8, yeah, I got an error. Wrong number or types of parameter in the call. So now I'll say I'll pass only what? The value for the first parameter. I'm passing only the department number. So when I execute, again I got there as you can see here. iTab is not bound. Okay, so externally we understood output parameters are also what? Mandatory parameters. So here let me bound that also. Call update underscore employee underscore department. Sorry, I'll pass something 10. And how do you refer to the how do you bound the output parameters? By giving the placeholder. So I'll say question mark. So what is the depart number I'm passing it 10. So before I call that, this is the data in my table. Try to understand. Depart number 10 I am passing. How many records are there? 1, 2, 3 records are there. employee number 1, employee number 4, employee number 7. Okay, what are the salaries here? 1000, 4000 and 7000. So this 1000, 4000 should be incremented by 5% according to our logic, and this 7000 should be incremented by 2%. That is the logic. So let me call that, right? Yeah, you can see it might have updated the table and is also returning because I specified output parameter. I got the data. You can see here depart number 10, 1050 incremented by what? 5%. 4000 also got incremented by 5%. 7000 incremented by 2%, which is 7000 what? 140. Okay, hope it's clear to everyone. Done. That's all. This is about the cursor for now. Any questions, please ask. Done. Okay, so what is the R&D we need to do? We need to check whether HANA database supports percentage type declaration. Actually, in my last batch also, I gave this an exercise. I've done it, but unfortunately, I didn't got it. But you also try it from your end. Okay, percentage type declaration. So if you take other databases, you'll declare something like this. What is this? Declare v underscore employee number, v underscore employee. What is the table name? The table name is what? Employee underscore department. Okay. Dot. What is the column I need to refer? Employee number. Employee number. Percentage type. This is the way we refer in case of what PLSQL. Okay, here the syntax would be different, and first of all we need to check whether it is supported or not. So I have done the R&D already in my last batch also. I have checked many places, but I didn't got any solution for that. I tried practically also, but if you have time, try this. Okay, so what is the advantage of this? It should automatically get the data type and says what is the advantage of referring like this. In future, if the database properties are modified, even if the data type is modified, I need not modify my procedure. That is the advantage. So as per my knowledge, Oracle and SQL Server, which I know, they are supported very much in that. But whereas here, the syntax I'm not getting, and I'm not getting anywhere the reference to that. So try from your end also, and let me know if you get the solution. Hope it's clear to everyone. Percentage type declaration. And not only that, one more thing you can do R&D. There is something called as row type declaration. Row type declaration. So when I say row type declaration, if you observe the earlier example, just here, when I'm reading the cursor here, try to understand. When I'm reading the cursor, I declared how many target variables? 5 target variables. Why I declare for 5 target variables? Because my cursor each record contains 5 fields, and we have retrieved all the 5 fields. No? So instead of referring to each field separately like this, we have a concept called as row type declaration. Row type declaration. So again, in other databases, you would say something like this. Okay, what is the table name? Employee underscore department percentage row type. This is how you refer. Okay, so what I can do now here, fetch C1 into WA. This WA will refer to what? Complete structure, complete row of that particular table. So this is called as row type declaration. So other databases, if you take Oracle PLSQL, it supports percentage type declaration as well as row type declaration. Percentage type declaration is used for referring to what? A particular column in the table. Row type declaration is used for referring to the complete row structure of the table. So we need to check whether HANA database supports that particular feature or not. If supported, what is the syntax for that? So try to do R&D and let me know the answer in a couple of days. Okay.
Sure,
Any
sir.
questions? Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Any questions in this? Okay.
Uh, s- Sir, with the
Yeah,
small
tell me.
question,
Yeah, tell me.
yeah, within a procedure, so can we use the same cursor name as C1, C1, C1 multiple times, or should be unique?
Close, close and open. That's the reason it is recommended to close. Okay, close it and then declare the same cursor with the other select query.
Okay.
Understood? Just like if you take our normal ABAP also, if you are working with the BDC session objects, okay, we need
Yeah.
to close the session object by using what BDC close group. Then again we can open it. Understood? So if you want to use the same thing, you close it and then open it again.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, any doubts, Shiva?
No, sir. No.
Yeah. We have not discussed table type, na? I'll cover this tomorrow. What else? The RL set because it's a very small thing only. So see here we have something called as table type here. Okay. So let me try to create the table type. One second before that. Am I have any related table here? I'll take a small table. EMP underscore trigger. Yeah, what are the columns? EMP ID and ename. EMP ID and ename. Done. So one second. Let me close the other things. Right. So we have a table here EMP underscore trigger, which has got two columns EMP ID and ename, entr and varchar are done. So I want to create a table type now. I want to create a table type. I'll do a small change here. So how do you create a table type? You see here. I'll just right click on the tables. I'll right click on the table. I'll say new table. Okay. Let me provide the table name as TT underscore EMP, some name TT underscore EMP, and here you can see the type is area type. So we have what here row store and column store. If I choose row store or if I choose column store, they are considered as database tables. Now instead of that, I'll choose what table type. I'm choosing what table type. Okay, done. Let me give the what column names. So here I'll say EMP ID, let me give it as integer. Done. I'll create another column. I'll give the column name as employee name. I'll give it as varchar of what 20. Done. EMP done. If you see the database table EMP underscore trigger, it has got two columns EMP ID and ename. Ename. The database varchar only. Here I am creating the table type. Wantedly, I took a different name. What is a different name I took? EMP name. So now what I'll do is, earlier examples, if you see, I have taken the output parameter referring to the database table. So now what I'll do is I'll try to create a procedure which has to refer to what the table type. Table type. So here I'll just quickly create the procedure. We'll be using this table type extensively going forward. So create procedure. I'll give the procedure name as something read database table underscore something t type some name. Okay. Then in the output parameter, I'll say out I tab. What is the table type name just I created? TT underscore what EMP. Oh, sorry, I have not executed. Na. Let me execute. Yeah, the table type is created. Okay. So if you observe here, what is the name here? TT underscore EMP. Na? So if I expand tables here, if I refresh, If I refresh, I don't have anything here by name what TT underscore EMP. Yeah, I can say I don't have anything by name what TT underscore EMP. Where I can see that under procedures, we have what table types. Okay, let me refresh. Yeah, you can see under procedures, we have a node called as table type. Under that, we are able to see that particular table type, EMP ID, EMP name. Done. Now, what I'll do is EMP underscore trigger table has got two columns, EMP ID and what E name. So now the change I'll do is out I tab, I'll refer to the table type. So in the earlier example, I'm referring to the database table. Now I'm referring to what table types as begin. Now the change I'll do is what is the output parameter itab equal to, I'll say select star from, sorry, itab equal to select star from, okay, what is the table name, database table name, emp underscore what trigger, select star from emp underscore trigger. Done. And that's all. So what I'm trying to show is I created a table type which has got two columns. What are the two columns? EMP ID and EMP name. EMP name. And as part of my procedure, I declare an output parameter referring to the table type. But when I'm retrieving the data from the database table, here the column names in the database table are different. What are the columns in the table? EMP ID and E name. But the structure of the table type is what? EMP ID and EMP name, not E name, EMP name. So let's see what happens. So when I execute, okay, this is very much what correct if you're doing it in our ABAP context. In ABAP context, if you remember, it will not check for the field names, it will check for the data types. Am I clear? In the ABAP context, it will not check for the field names, it will check for the corresponding data types. Here the data types are same. In the table type also it is varchar of 20. In the table also it is varchar of 20, but the column names are what? Different. So let's see whether this is valid or not. Okay, so when I execute, when I say F8, good. I'm expecting an error here. See the error message. What is that here? Return type mismatch. Return type mismatch. Procedure so and so. Attribute name EMP name different from what attribute name E name. Okay. So in our ABAP context, it will not check for the field names. It will check only for the whether the corresponding data types are what same. If it is same, it will work. But whereas here it checks for what at field names also. I mean to say attribute names also. So this is the point I want to tell. So as of today, we have created the table type using what UI, using what UI. Tomorrow what we'll do is we'll create the table type using SQL statement, and we'll try to refer to that particular table type as part of a procedures and what functions. Hope it's clear to everyone. So the understanding here is it will not only check for the data, it will also check for what? Field names. But in our ABAP context, it will not check for field names. Any questions? So one point you have to understand is this procedure parameters can refer to direct data types, can refer to database tables, can refer to a table types also. Okay. Any questions, please ask me. Otherwise, I'll continue tomorrow.
No, sir.
Done. So try to do R&D on the exercise I give. What is exercise? Check whether HANA database supports percentage type declaration and percentage row type declaration. Take your own time, and if you get that answer, please let me know. Okay, I tried once or twice in my earlier batches, but I left it there only. I'll also try again. Okay. Chalo then. So I'll wind up then. We'll continue tomorrow.